Hey guys, it's Houston Singletary, Anthony Martinelli. We're here at the Osmose Expressive E booth, and we're getting ready to take a whole journey through Osmose, face to face for Anthony. Let's turn it over to Josh. He's going to do his thing. Let's do it. Let's roll.
So this is the Osmose. It's a gestural synth, and it's a little easier just to show than explain. So right now I have the pressure sensitivity maxed out. So basically, you can see this little dot. I don't know if you can hear it in here, but it's already playing. I breathe on it. So it's tracking up and down and left to right, individually per key. And then, as you push down, it hits this little cushion, and past the cushion, it engages aftertouch.
So per key, aftertouch?
Completely individual aftertouch per key, pitch bend per key, and up and down per key.
What's generating the sound?
The sound is coming from within the Haken Audio Eagan Matrix. So there's 500 internal presets. It's a very difficult sound engine to describe because it uses a series of formulas through this really, really extensive matrix that are mapped to gestures on the keyboard itself. So, like for example, this patch, if I play it like that, I have a short attack. If I play it like this.
Oh, so it's so these sounds are designed to relate to this input of expression.
Exactly. It's how you play it. It's going to respond to that. But you're not limited to one. So essentially, I can have as many ADSRs as my two hands can do. So I could have like.
Now it's pizzicato and like short notes up here, and you can have long notes just depending on how you touch it on any key.
On any key, or like for this sound, for example, I can trigger aftertouch here. Have staccato here. Now the bending, so you can set the sensitivity however you like. I like it really, really high. You can also set the pitch bend however you like. Right now it's set to 1 semitone. So at the full extension, on either side it's going to be 1 semitone and somewhere in between. Personally, if I want a very natural sounding, realistic vibrato, I like 2/3 of a semitone. But if your hands are a little more wide and like uncontrolled, you can do a half of a semitone. And if that's still too uncontrolled for you, you can do essentially an 8th step. There's no way to make that sound bad. But it goes as high as 96 steps.
Oh boy.
And it's independent per key. So remember, 96 step pitch bend, as many fingers as you can push. I'll turn it down, but. Sound design possibilities.
It's like an orchestra when you just write all over the place.
Yeah, and it's
like modern. Well, it's very interesting though, because that would be like in an orchestra, you would have each section player doing the range that they can do, and that would be a finger that you would have. So, but the range would be 96 across the entire. So everybody would be 96, but you could control the depth just of that with each finger.
Right, and for example. Let's set it to something less absurd, like a 5th, right? You can bend in multiple directions. So, let's see.
Oh, by going sideways.
Right, and you could do it with a chord, right? Or part of a chord.
Wow. I mean, this is like the first keyboard that I've ever heard that's sort of in tune with orchestral thinking. Because you can do this when you write for an orchestra because you write string chords divisi and you write them out. So any player on one of those notes can move. So you can get richer chords that way, but you can literally do that here.
You can do it by hand and it feels very natural.
Yeah.
It's just about what is programmed for that patch. And they're very musical. Like the goal of each preset of the 500 internal presets was really to not have to touch anything other than the keyboard, and you feel what you want to play, and it kind of reads your mind. I mean, it really does read your mind. Like if you set the sensitivity low enough on pressure, it's a little loud in here, but like I hear that note before I realize I wanted to play it. You know what I mean? It really feels like this anticipates what I'm thinking almost before my hands know what they're doing. And now within each preset, there is 7 macros that you can control. Every single thing that you can control from the internal sound engine has a MIDI CC that you can assign to it. So right now I have this just going in the 5-pin DIN. So I can just, like when I'm working on a TV show or film, I just need quick access. But you can also map those to the DAW. You can automate things. It also you can set the tempo from within. You can send a MIDI clock in or sync it to your DAW as well. There's an internal effects engine that's really lovely. It's a really lovely kind of long and beautiful reverb. There's a mod delay. There's a swept echo, which is really nice, an analog echo, which does all the aliasing you would expect from an analog echo. If you want a little more control, low pass filter echo and a high pass filter echo. All right, so I'm going to show you a feature that is unique to this, as far as I know, in the world. It's called an MP arpeggiator. So in a normal arpeggiation or arpeggiator operation, right, let's go to this one. So normal arpeggiator, you play 4 notes, your dynamics are done, right? If it's a really sophisticated arpeggiator, it might detect your initial pressure and get like 4 different dynamics. This is continuously tracking my hands. And this is a trick I learned actually by accident because I used to keep this on the keys. It's so sensitive that if I just touch a key, it's going to trigger an invisible note. So it changes the rhythm. But the idea is that you can continuously... And then if you don't want it to accidentally trigger stuff, just change the sensitivity settings. So I can turn that down a little bit if I want a little more control. I can turn the pitch bending off if I wanted more control for that. And within the MP arpeggiator, there's several different presets. And then if you want to get deep, you can actually go in and set a lot of things. You can do a hold, you can adjust the pattern. Yeah. There's 2 assignments that you can do, and it's pretty interesting because you can assign it to interact like a normal arpeggiator would within the synthesis engine. You can also assign it to interact with different elements of the gestures of the keyboard. I'll show you, just for convenience sake, I'll show you some of the presets. This one's called chords. Set the MIDI, you can do a MIDI tempo in, DAW, or set it internally. This one is gonna trigger an octave, the aftertouch. So this one I kinda wanna dig in, so I'm gonna turn the bending off. so I don't accidentally play out of tune, and then I can do some really fun stuff. Another really fun one is
Very spontaneously.
it just, once you figure out kind of how it's responding to your hands, it all of a sudden just music's for you.
Yeah.
You lean in. I really like this one, and also all of the features of the internal engine work just as well when you send it out via MIDI. So if you're controlling another synth, if you're controlling a soft synth or a hardware synth, you can use the MP arpeggiator. This one's strummed like a harp.
Okay.
It's also, what I really like about some of these is you can set them to fast enough rhythms where I don't have to think about kind of syncing it to a particular tempo. I can just kind of start and stop as I like. It feels more like classical music, you know?
Wow, this is, I think I see where this can go.
This is kind of a hidden feature. Well, I guess not so hidden anymore because we just put it in the manual, but here's like a beautiful... You know, a really nice, mellow, fluty kind of recorder sound. If you blast the pre-gain, once it hits past a certain threshold, it acts as a wave folder distortion. That's for every preset. So, same sound. And obviously with this much distortion, the more notes you use, the crazier it gets.
Right.
Or, you know, like as a film composer, I just like to have, you know, with a chord sometimes just more complex harmonics, so I don't have to use so much compression to get it to pop through. You know? You know, and everywhere in between. But what's really, really fun about it is you can take like a really innocent flute sound and then twist a few knobs, and it's like goes into sound design territory like that, you know?
Yeah.
So the next one I'm gonna show you is how the pedals interact with the Eagan Matrix. Normal sustained functionality is like it's over, right? The keyboard's held captive, dynamics are done. The first difference is I have 0 to 127 dynamic control with my foot now. The second difference is I'm not actually using sustain, this is a sostenuto. The keyboard's free, and we have 2 sostenutos.
I see.
So I can bring in a second one. And then the keyboard's still free to play.
Oh, that's great.
And of course you can program these to do anything.
I see where it's opening up, so you allow the pedal to be expressive too.
And you can map it however you want. So instead of 0 to 127, it could be like 50 to 75. So once you engage it, you have a little more.
It's like the middle pedal on a grand piano where you can hold a note down and then it'll hold that note and then you can place notes above and they won't be pedaled. So it allows you to create dual textures at the same time. But very unusual for a synth. I haven't seen that before. What's the last one?
The last one is pressure portamento. So you've been hearing it already. Yeah, sorry, it's getting loud here. You've been hearing it already, but in a musical, subtle context. So essentially, what pressure glide is what they call it in here. Whatever minimum interval you set it to, at that interval or less, it's going to glide based on the relative pressure between the 2 notes.
Oh.
So in this case, like, it's very musical because I can play chords, or I can.
So if you connect the notes, you'll get portamento? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, at the minimum interval you set or less, which is like that's kind of this is the subtle.
That's like how someone would play.
Exactly.
Like you don't have to rely on pushing a button or a wheel or something.
I mean, you can try if you want. It's like it's so intuitive.
hard to hear, but I can hear how it's sliding depending on, it's hard to say like what I thought I was wanting to do, it's doing it. I need to sit with it. But really, I really appreciate you taking us through this. It's a magnificent instrument. It's really an instrument. Yeah. And you've explored it really quite well. I mean, I'm looking forward to hearing the music that you're creating on it.
Thank you.
I want to be looking out for it. And
yeah, likewise.
Josh Madoff, everybody.